What if I told you that the darkest addictions that haunt you aren't punishments, but direct messages from the divine? Think about that for a moment. What if what you've been calling weakness is actually a spiritual calling, one that the world never wanted you to understand? Carl Jung believed that the most shadowy manifestations of the human soul, the things we hide from others and even from ourselves, are not curses. They're portals, gateways to the revelation of who we truly are. He said that God speaks to us in ways the rational mind cannot comprehend, and sometimes He whispers through the very things we try hardest to reject in ourselves. There's a profound, almost heretical truth that most religious institutions have tried to bury. According to Jung, certain addictions, compulsions, and impulses are not sins in the spiritual sense, but coded messages, signals sent to awaken those who have been chosen for something greater. These inner shadows that seem to be tearing you apart may actually be the instruments through which God shapes His chosen ones. There are 6 specific vices that act as secret spiritual frequencies, signals of a soul with an extraordinary purpose. And if you've been battling one of them, if you find yourself trapped in cycles of behavior you can't seem to control, maybe it's not weakness, maybe it's a calling. Have you noticed that no matter what you achieve, buy, or experience, there's always an emptiness that remains? That constant sense that nothing is ever enough. You try to fill it with pleasure, success, relationships, but it's always temporary. And when the noise of the day fades, that emptiness returns. That emptiness isn't greed, it isn't materialism, it's a sign that your soul was never meant to live imprisoned by superficiality. Jung observed that souls chosen by God carry what he called a sacred restlessness, a hunger for meaning that nothing in this world can satisfy. They simply cannot conform to mediocrity. And that dissatisfaction you've mistaken for failure. It's the very thing that separates you from the asleep masses. While others find comfort in routine, you feel the pull toward growth, toward transformation. That is the mark of the awakened. Have you ever wondered why some people seem perfectly at peace, living on the surface, while you crave something deeper, truer, more spiritual? It's because your soul belongs to another realm, one that instinctively knows that nothing in this physical plane can fulfill what it's searching for. So when you try to fill your inner void with earthly pleasures, something inside you revolts. You might feel pleasure for a moment, but then comes the emptiness, the regret, the sadness. That cycle isn't punishment. It's your soul rejecting what isn't sacred, and that's where addictions are born. They are desperate attempts to fill the eternal with the temporary. You seek in substances, people, distractions, what can only be found in the divine. But every relapse, every tear, every moment of despair is not a fall, it's a compass pointing you back home. You don't belong to this world. You are being prepared for something greater. Jung once said, "What is not made conscious will manifest as fate," meaning everything you deny, everything you repress becomes a destructive force. But when you look at your addiction with courage, without fear, without judgment, it begins to reveal its true face. You realize it was never trying to destroy you. It was trying to wake you up, to make you look deeper inside yourself, that restlessness that makes you feel different, isolated, misunderstood. It's not a curse, it's protection. The solitude of the chosen is necessary, because if you blended too easily, if you drowned in shallow conversations and fleeting pleasures, you'd lose yourself in the noise of the world and forget who you are. That's why God separates his chosen ones. He makes you feel out of place among others, not as punishment, but as preservation. That sensitivity that makes you feel vulnerable, the one that makes you feel too much, see too much, care too deeply, is actually your greatest gift. It's your spiritual radar. It protects you from falseness. It allows you to sense the unseen. It connects you directly to the divine. You can feel when something's off. You can sense when someone's lying, when the energy in a room is heavy. That's not paranoia, it's perception. You see what others can't. And because of that, the world tries to label you as anxious, restless, unstable. But the truth is, you're a seeker. You're searching for origin, truth, and purpose. You are both cursed and blessed with an inability to be satisfied with the small and shallow. That infinite thirst within you, over time, becomes the very path to your transformation. The pain you feel, the emptiness that follows you, the silent battles you fight, none of them are meaningless. They are the process through which your soul is refined. God doesn't reveal himself in easy victories. He reveals himself in the breakdowns, in the relapses, in the moments when you think you can't go on. It's there, in the depth of your despair, that his voice becomes clearest. So stop hating yourself for your addictions. Stop punishing yourself for being imperfect. What you call weakness might just be the very channel God is using to bring you back to yourself. Instead of asking, "Why am I like this?" ask, "What is this pain trying to show me? What is this compulsion trying to teach me?" Maybe the answer isn't stop, but understand. The emptiness you feel doesn't need to be filled. It needs to be understood. Because it's in that empty space that your true purpose begins to emerge. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. And every time the world tries to break you, it's only shaping you into who you were always meant to become. Have you ever noticed that the more time passes, the more you feel different from everyone else? That no matter how hard you try to fit in, there's a part of you that simply doesn't belong. Maybe you've realized that solitude feels like home, not as an escape, but as a quiet sanctuary that no one else seems to understand. People might say you're isolating yourself. They might think you're antisocial, withdrawn, even depressed. But the truth is far deeper. This is not isolation, it's initiation. The souls that are chosen always go through long periods of solitude, not as punishment, but as sacred preparation. Silence and aloneness are the invisible temples where these souls receive healing, wisdom, and revelation. It's in those moments when the world falls away that your consciousness expands. Your wounds reveal their hidden meaning. And finally, the voice of the divine can be heard. When you are alone, something sacred unfolds. Your mind slows down. Your true self starts to rise from beneath the noise. It doesn't come from rational thought, but from a deeper place. That silent space where God speaks without words. That voice you sometimes hear in stillness isn't imagination, it's communication. It's how the divine whispers directly to your spirit. But the modern world is terrified of silence. We live in a society that glorifies distraction and mistakes stillness for weakness. From childhood, we're taught that being alone means something is wrong with us. So when your soul craves solitude, when you feel the need to withdraw and recharge, guilt immediately follows. People say, "You need to get out." More. You're isolating yourself. You should be more social. But what they don't understand is that your solitude is not a void, it's an altar. It's the sacred space where your soul performs its deepest work. While the world sleeps, your consciousness expands. It's like you're receiving invisible transmissions, not in words, but in vibrations. Spiritual downloads that awaken something ancient inside you. Every time you choose silence over noise, presence over distraction, you take another Step toward your divine purpose. That's why you often feel drained after being around too many people, even those you love. Because love is energy, and so is presence. The presence of others can interfere with the subtle frequencies your soul is trying to receive. You know when a room feels heavy. You can sense when someone's smile is fake, when a place carries dark energy. That sensitivity isn't weakness. It's your divine radar. Your soul is trying to keep the channel clear. And when you ignore that, you pay the price with exhaustion, anxiety, and confusion. That's your spirit's way of saying you need to return to silence. Carl Jung once noted that the awakened use solitude differently than the rest. While most isolate themselves to escape life, the chosen isolate themselves to enter it more deeply. In silence, they revisit memories, question everything they've ever believed, and listen to the whispers of the soul. They speak to themselves, not out of madness, but out of lucidity. These quiet moments are not loneliness, they are the laboratory of the soul. It's where lifetimes of karma, lessons, and wisdom are processed and purified. Your isolation isn't rejection, it's divine protection. God knows your mission is delicate, your heart sensitive, and that the chaos of the world could easily corrupt your path. So He hides you. He pulls you away from crowds, from shallow conversations, from noise that distorts your inner frequency. He removes you from relationships that drain your essence, not because you are unworthy of love, but because you are being prepared for sacred service. And maybe that's why, during these times of solitude, you feel more creative, more inspired, more intuitive. It's when the divine begins to flow through you effortlessly, when ideas descend like light, when peace takes root in your chest, and clarity feels like truth returning home. In these moments, you remember who you are beneath every mask the world made you wear. You are not alone. You are in communion. You are sitting in the presence of the divine itself. But something curious happens after these sacred retreats. When you return to the world, you feel an almost irresistible urge to fix things. You see pain, injustice, chaos, and something inside you whispers, you have to help. It's not ego. It's not a savior complex. It's spiritual memory. Your soul remembers why it came here, and that memory manifests as compassion, a deep, almost unbearable sense of responsibility for the greater good. The chosen ones cannot stand to see others suffer because they see the reflection of God in everyone, even in those who are still asleep. That's why you give so much, even when it hurts. That's why you forgive, even when you're betrayed, because your heart was designed to heal, not just yourself, but the world. But even healers must return to the well. You must return to silence to refill your soul. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So when life pulls you towards solitude again, don't fight it. Don't apologize for it. Don't let the noise of the world convince you that peace is weakness. Solitude is the womb of transformation. It is there, in the stillness, that chosen souls are reborn, cleansed of what no longer serves them, realigned with their divine path and sent back into the world, carrying more light than before. You are not withdrawing from life. You are remembering who you are, so that when you return, you can illuminate the darkness around you. When life begins to strip away the noise and chaos, it's not ending. It's bringing you closer to your essence. And every time you feel that sacred pull towards silence, don't ignore it, because that's the very moment when the divine is trying to teach you something. Allow yourself to be alone, because it's in that quiet space between sound and silence that the voice of God whispers your next step. Have you ever felt like you carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, as if somehow the harmony of your family, the balance at work, the peace in your relationships, all of it depends on you? Even when no one asks, you feel the need to step in, to fix, to hold everything together. But what if that constant urge to control isn't a flaw, but a sacred lesson? Carl Jung once said that the human being is shaped in the tension between what can and cannot be controlled, and those chosen for deeper spiritual missions are placed directly in that battlefield. You want everything to work. You want peace, harmony, order, but life doesn't always cooperate. Things fall apart, people change, plans collapse, and when they do, you feel frustration, guilt, even shame, as if you failed somehow. But you haven't failed. What looks like punishment is actually divine training, the soul's exercise in surrender. Every moment you try to control and can't, something within you expands. Your ego learns to release, your spirit learns to trust. This is not chaos. This is your initiation into the most difficult of all lessons, the art of letting go. The stress you feel isn't just emotional. It's spiritual tension. It's the push and pull between the human that wants to command and the divine that knows the perfect timing for everything. While you struggle to force outcomes, God is quietly strengthening your invisible muscles, patience, faith, humility, and surrender. You're not failing. You're being prepared. Jung observed that those destined to lead often do so. Not because they crave power, but because they cannot bear disorder. They feel a sacred compulsion to bring harmony where there is chaos. They carry within them an internal compass that always points toward balance and healing. Even when they try to step back, life calls them forward again. If you've ever wondered why you feel such responsibility, it's because your spirit recognizes its purpose. You were born to guide. And every time you feel drained from managing too much, remember, you're in training. Each challenge that demands control, focus, and calm is a rehearsal for your higher calling. Yes, people might label you controlling, demanding, even perfectionistic, but what they don't see is the sensitivity behind it, a kind of energetic intelligence. You can sense when something is about to go wrong before anyone else notices. You pick up on vibrations that others are blind to, and you instinctively try to correct, prevent, or realign before it all collapses. That anxiety you feel, that overwhelming urge to make things right, isn't weakness. It's spiritual foresight, distorted by pain. You are not obsessive. You are intuitive. You simply haven't yet learned to let the divine do its part. Because here's the truth. You're not here to fix everything. You're here to learn trust, to master the sacred balance between doing and allowing, between human control and divine timing. And that's the hardest paradox there is, to act with all your strength, but surrender the outcome. To move forward boldly, but still say, your will, not mine. Jung believed that when the controlling energy of the ego is refined, it transforms into true leadership, guided not by fear, but by wisdom. The same force that now drives you to organize every detail will one day make you a calm and compassionate leader, one who creates harmony not through force, but through presence. That's what's happening right now. You're being shaped. Your ego is learning to step aside so that your spirit can lead. And when that balance is finally complete, the true spiritual leader is born, one who acts with confidence but walks in humility. But there's a price for this awakening, and it's called pain. Have you ever noticed that your life seems harder than others? While many drift through their days with ease, you face storms, losses, betrayals, and endless cycles of rebuilding. And every time you rise from the ashes, you ask, Why me? But maybe that's not the right question. Maybe the real question is, what for? Pain is the divine sculptor's tool, the precise method by which a soul destined for greatness is carved and purified. Those who are chosen must be forged in fire. And fire is merciless. It burns away illusions. It melts the masks. It destroys every false attachment until only the essential remains. Pain is God's chisel, carving away everything that hides your true strength. Each challenge you face is a customized lesson. Financial struggles teach resilience and compassion. Betrayals teach discernment and humility. Loneliness teaches presence and inner peace. Nothing is random. Nothing is wasted. Every tear is holy water, purifying your heart for what's to come. Jung called this process individuation, the transformation of lead into gold. And that's exactly what's happening to you. The suffering you endure is not destruction, it's alchemy. You're being separated from what you think you are, so that your true essence can emerge. So next time something slips out of your control, breathe. Maybe the chaos isn't breaking you. Maybe it's freeing you. Maybe the collapse is just an invitation to trust. You haven't been forgotten. You're being refined. And if this message resonates with you, if you feel this inner fire shaping your story, I want you to write in the comments below, "I trust divine timing." Because that phrase is more than words. It's a declaration to your soul that every fall is just the prelude to your next awakening. And remember, this is Unshakable Mind, a place for souls who dare to look into the mirror of transformation and not turn away. Here, every scar becomes scripture, every pain becomes purpose, and every silence becomes the voice of God. This video is another step toward your true essence. So if this message touched something deep within you, subscribe, turn on the bell, and continue walking this path with us. Your evolution didn't begin by accident. It began the moment you decided to stop running from yourself. Every trial you've faced was never a punishment, but a sacred code of evolution written into your destiny. The chosen ones, those who carry a greater mission within, don't learn through theories or pretty words. They learn through the body, through the soul, through silence, and through fire. And that's why, if you often feel that life tests you more than others, it's not your imagination, it's purpose. Before you were even born, your soul signed up for an advanced spiritual training. While others learn from books and lectures, you learn from the raw experience of collapse, loss, sleepless nights, and moments that felt impossible to overcome. That's the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is learned. Wisdom is lived. And because of everything you've endured, there is a depth within you that others can feel, even if they can't explain it. Have you noticed? People tend to open up to you, to confess their secrets, to seek your advice, to find comfort in your presence. They don't come to you because you have all the answers, but because, unconsciously, they sense that you've walked through hell and returned holding something sacred in your hands, understanding. Your pain gave you empathy that can't be faked. It prevented you from becoming cold, arrogant, or indifferent. If your life had always been easy, you would probably have drifted away from the suffering of others. But God knew that couldn't happen. So He made you feel deeply, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Every scar on your heart is a spiritual credential. Every silent tear you shed was a seed planted in the soil of your soul. And every time you stood up again, even without strength, the universe witnessed it and took note. None of it was wasted, none of it forgotten. Those painful experiences are what make you qualified for the role that awaits you. Because, as Jung understood, true enlightenment doesn't come from escaping the darkness. It comes from confronting it. And here's something curious about this path. Even when pain finally seems to fade, you rarely feel complete peace. There's always a quiet restlessness inside you, a whisper that says, "You're not there yet. There's more waiting for you." That feeling that something's missing, that you were made for more, is one of the clearest signs of a chosen soul. It shows up when you try to settle, when everything seems stable, when life starts to feel too comfortable. It's your soul reminding you, you weren't born for an ordinary life. Comfort is not your destiny. Maybe you've changed jobs several times or felt that no conventional path holds meaning for too long. That's not instability, it's preparation. Every experience, every relationship, every challenge has been a rehearsal for something greater. Nothing was in vain. The restlessness that follows you is how God keeps you moving, making sure you don't fall asleep before your time. And while the world might criticize you for never being satisfied, what's really happening is that your soul is searching for authenticity. It doesn't want a safe life, it wants a true one. The chosen ones rarely feel completely at home in this world because they live between two realms, the earthly and the divine. Between what is and what is yet to come, that haunting sense that you're living someone else's life, that you're trapped in a script that doesn't feel like yours, that's not confusion, it's calling. It's your higher self whispering, "There's more waiting for." You keep searching, and deep down you know it's true. But here's the most important part, that restlessness isn't meant to torture you, it's meant to guide you. It's the GPS of the soul. Every time you ignore that inner voice, life starts to feel suffocating, empty, colorless. Because nothing is more painful than denying your own essence. When you finally decide to listen, to follow that whisper, life begins to reorganize itself around you. The right doors open, the right people appear, the right opportunities unfold, because when the chosen one accepts the calling, the divine clears the path that once seemed impossible. That's why your story matters, not because it's perfect, but because it's real. Every pain, every loss, every lonely night was a fragment of your initiation. You were shaped by something far greater than you can comprehend. No one becomes enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And that's exactly what you've been doing, facing your own shadows and choosing still to keep going. That's why the light within you now is authentic, not a spiritual illusion, but a living force born only after the ego collapses. The restlessness you feel today is not a curse, it's the beginning of awakening. It's your soul saying the time of preparation is ending. The silent learner is becoming the guide, the one who lights the way for others with the wisdom forged through suffering. So when you feel like you don't belong anywhere, remember this. You belong to the purpose that's still being born within you, and it will find you the moment you stop resisting and finally decide to become who you've always been. Peaceful, predictable relationships may look safe to others, but to you, they often feel like emotional confinement. Your soul doesn't crave comfort, it craves friction. It longs for the mirror that forces you to grow. You don't seek love merely to be soothed, but to be transformed. The intense connections that have shaken your heart were never random. They were lessons disguised as love stories. Each one was preparing you for the deeper, more conscious relationships that will accompany your greater spiritual purpose. Every person who has entered and left your life played a precise role to teach you, awaken you, or push you to the next level of awareness. And though it may have felt like heartbreak, there was hidden wisdom in every ending, in every separation, in every almost that never became. Your restlessness is not a flaw. While others cling to stability as a form of safety, you feel that repetition kills your soul. You need movement, exploration, discovery. There's a hunger in you, a hunger for meaning, depth, and truth. It's not shallow curiosity, it's your spirit collecting tools, insights, and experiences that will one day become the foundation of your higher calling. Every book you've read, every conversation that left a mark, every challenge that shook you has been shaping something within. And one day, when the time is right, you'll see that nothing was wasted. Every moment was part of a secret architecture designed by the divine. Carl Jung observed that many people with great spiritual potential lose themselves by choosing the safety of mediocrity. They settle into predictable lives, and slowly their inner fire fades. But the chosen don't have that luxury. Their restlessness is a divine safeguard, a force that won't let them die spiritually before their time. It keeps them seeking, even when they don't know what they're seeking. That constant search develops something rare in you, spiritual resilience and emotional adaptability. While others break under change, you learn to move with it, to dance with chaos instead of resisting it. Uncertainty becomes your natural habitat. You learn to trust the unknown, to feel at home within the mystery, and that trust will be essential when you're called to walk paths no one has walked before. Curiously, your restlessness often grows stronger right before something monumental happens, almost as if your soul senses transformation before reality does. During those times, everything feels too small, too tight, as if your current life can no longer contain your expanding spirit. But that discomfort isn't a curse, it's a sign. It's the caterpillar's cocoon cracking open. The pressure means the butterfly is about to emerge. Here's the truth, that restlessness will never disappear completely. It's the invisible thread that keeps you connected to infinity. While most people seek satisfaction in possessions, titles, and achievements, your soul will always hunger for what has no end. Truth. This connection to the infinite protects you from thinking small, from living just to survive. When you finally understand that your restlessness is divine guidance, everything changes. You stop blaming yourself for never feeling satisfied. You stop thinking something's wrong with wanting more depth, more truth, more purpose. You begin to see that discomfort as your internal navigation system, leading you exactly where you're meant to go. What once felt like anxiety becomes a compass. What once looked like chaos becomes direction. And this restlessness gives birth to another sacred gift, a mind that questions everything. You can't simply accept what you're told, not because you're rebellious, but because you sense, intuitively, that there's always a deeper layer beneath the surface. Since childhood, you may have unsettled adults with your endless questions. While others were satisfied with simple answers, you wanted to know the why behind the why. That curiosity wasn't defiance, it was awakening. Even as a child, your soul was testing the reliability of the world around you, and that tendency never left. It evolved. Today, you question systems, beliefs, authorities, traditions, dogmas, anything that demands blind acceptance. Your mind refuses to rest in the obvious. It searches for the unseen behind the scene. That's one of the highest marks of a chosen spirit, the inability to be manipulated. Because those who never question the world become prisoners of it. But those who dare to doubt, to investigate, to see beyond appearances, become free. And in that freedom, true wisdom begins to bloom. Restlessness then reveals itself not as an obstacle but as a portal. It's not a burden, it's a call to cross over. While many people spend their lives searching for answers, the chosen ones learn to live inside the question, because it's in the silence between the question and the answer that the divine finally speaks. There comes a point when awakening stops being poetic and becomes lonely. It's the moment you realize you can no longer accept things just because that's how they've always been. You begin to see the world differently, with eyes that can't be fooled by appearances and a heart that refuses to settle for half-truths. That's when real transformation begins. You start questioning everything, the beliefs you were taught as a child, the religious dogmas that once seemed sacred, the political narratives that divide people into enemies, the social norms that tell you what's acceptable or shameful. This constant examination can be exhausting, I know, but that exhaustion isn't weakness. It's your soul's muscles growing stronger. You're training discernment. You're learning to separate the authentic from the manipulated, the sacred from the superficial. Those who truly awaken become detectives of reality. Your mind no longer tolerates contradictions. It wants truth, even when it hurts. And through that search, through that sacred restlessness, you become exactly what you were meant to be. A seeker of truth, a builder of light in a world still asleep. When something doesn't feel right, when words don't match actions, or when the official explanations seem incomplete, you sense it instantly. It's not paranoia, it's not overthinking, it's your inner radar, that sacred intuition whispering, something's off here. That's spiritual sensitivity, refined perception, a higher consciousness that sees through illusions. But this gift comes with a price: loneliness. Because once you start seeing patterns of manipulation, inconsistencies, distortions, you can't unsee them. You try to warn others, to open their eyes, to share what you've noticed. But instead of gratitude, you're often met with criticism, sarcasm, and isolation. They call you paranoid, negative, complicated, but they don't understand. Your questions aren't rebellion for the sake of chaos. They are your soul's way of breathing. You simply cannot believe something just because someone said it. Your consciousness demands coherence. And though that often isolates you, it's a hidden blessing, because while most follow the noise of popular opinion, you follow the compass of inner truth. While others repeat what they've been told, you investigate. While many are content with shallow answers, you dig until you find the roots. That intellectual and spiritual independence is not arrogance, it's training. It's the preparation for what you were born to do, to think freely in a world that rewards obedience. Every great soul who challenged illusion, Socrates, Christ, Buddha, Jung, was first labeled a heretic, a disruptor, a threat to the order. But all they did was question comfortable lies in the name of liberating truth. You are walking the same path, rare, powerful, necessary. Carl Jung once said that the awakened individual must learn to trust their inner wisdom more than the collective ideas of the world. That's what's happening to you. This habit of questioning everything is the soul's training ground. It's forging you into someone who will one day be strong enough to challenge the very structures of reality that others accept as unquestionable. This process shapes you into a seeker who doesn't settle for surface-level answers, but dives into the hidden principles beneath them. And that skill is no accident. It's your spiritual armor. The more awake you become, the more deceptive the world appears. False teachers, empty promises, paths that wear the disguise of light but lead into shadow, you'll encounter them all. But your instinct to question, your refusal to take things at face value, will be your shield. Never apologize for being the one who asks. Never feel ashamed for digging deeper. The world desperately needs those who doubt, because doubt is the cradle of awareness. Through doubt, humanity evolves from blind followers into conscious individuals. You may feel isolated for seeing what others refuse to see. But understand this, those who question everything aren't cynics. They're seekers of truth. And truth, by nature, is lonely in the beginning. But one day, it becomes the foundation others will stand upon. If these words resonate with you, write it in the comments. I choose to see the truth. That declaration is your soul's way of remembering its mission. And if this message is helping you understand yourself more deeply, subscribe to Unshakable Mind. This space isn't for the masses. It's for those who seek clarity amidst the chaos. Every video here is a call to think deeper, feel stronger, and live with greater awareness. Now, let's go further. Because behind this questioning spirit lies something even more profound, the birth of sacred responsibility. There's a kind of person who carries the world on their shoulders, and maybe you're one of them. Not because you want to be a martyr or because you crave control, but because something inside you simply cannot ignore the suffering of others. When someone is in pain, you feel it. When injustice strikes, you burn with it. When the world seems to crumble, it feels like your own heart breaking. That depth of empathy is both a gift and a burden. Jung once said that few understand the cost of carrying an awakened soul. While most live on the surface of their desires, the chosen are called to feel the depths of the collective, to sense what others can't, to bear what others won't, to perceive the invisible threads that bind all of humanity together. But before you can carry that responsibility outward, you must first face it inward. True awakening isn't about exposing the flaws of the world. It's about exposing the illusions within yourself. It's not just questioning what's out there. It's questioning what lives in here. You start to observe yourself, your reactions, your beliefs, your triggers. You ask, why does this bother me? What in me still needs to be healed? And that's where real humility is born. Because once you truly see yourself, the ego begins to lose its disguise, especially the spiritual ego that hides behind words like light and awakening. That's why every awakened soul must first walk through the fire of self-awareness. You are being refined, stripped of everything false, so that when your true power emerges, it won't be corrupted by pride. Your critical gaze on the world is important, but your honest gaze upon yourself is what keeps your light from turning into shadow. And then something curious happens. The more you know yourself, the heavier your heart feels. Not with sadness, but with responsibility. You start to feel an unshakable urge to help, to heal, to protect. You can't turn away from pain, even when it's not yours. You feel the suffering of a stranger as if it were your own. You watch the news and feel it in your chest, as if destiny itself were calling you to act. You blame yourself for not being able to fix everything. You feel the weight of every tear, the exhaustion of every soul you wish you could save. And sometimes that burden steals your joy. There's a kind of ache you carry that words can't quite explain. You look at the world, people starving, laughing, fighting, surviving, and something inside you feels it all. The chaos, the injustice, the beauty, the grief. It's like your soul can't help but absorb everything. But listen carefully. This is not weakness. It's not emotional instability. It's your soul operating on a higher frequency, a level of consciousness where everything is interconnected. You feel the pain of the world because, in some profound way, you've already transcended the illusion of separation. And yes, it hurts, deeply. But that pain is also proof that you're truly alive, awake, sensitive, and connected to something infinitely larger than yourself. Carl. Jung believed that certain souls are born with a spiritual duty, a subconscious memory that they came here to help elevate the consciousness of humanity. Even before you can define what that means, you feel it. You act like it. You're the one people come to for comfort, the one friends seek when they don't know what to do, the one strangers feel safe around without even knowing why. Your energy carries understanding, your gaze offers shelter, your presence heals, but that same light also draws the shadows of others. And if you don't learn to balance it, that weight can crush you. You give until you're empty. You carry burdens that aren't yours. You forget to care for yourself while trying to heal the world. And when you finally collapse in exhaustion, you feel guilty for not having done enough. But here's a truth you need to carve into your heart. You did not come here to save everyone. Helping the world doesn't mean carrying its suffering on your shoulders. It means illuminating it. Through your own transformation, the love you have for the world must include you, because if you burn yourself out trying to save everyone, the world loses the very light it needed most, yours. Jung once said that the sense of cosmic responsibility exists not to enslave us to pain, but to expand our capacity to love. When you feel the collective suffering, you're learning to love without conditions, to love without expecting anything in return. You begin to understand that others are not separate from you, that every human heart is part of the same great pulse, and that realization is the birth of true compassion, not the pity that looks down, but the awareness that recognizes oneness. When you start seeing the world as an intricate web of connections, you realize something extraordinary. Everything you think, everything you feel, everything you do sends ripples through the whole. Healing yourself is, in fact, healing a part of humanity. So take a deep breath. Let go of some of the weight you've been carrying. You are not here to fix everything. You are here to remember that everything can be transformed through awareness. If this message speaks to you, write it in the comments. I release the weight, and I choose to serve with love. That's the declaration of a soul that has understood what it truly means to serve, not through sacrifice, but through alignment. And if these reflections resonate with your journey, subscribe to Unshakable Mind. Here, you'll find more than words. You'll find direction, clarity, and strength to navigate a world that's half asleep. Stay with me, because in the next part, we're going to dive even deeper into your spiritual calling and discover how to turn that heavy pain into power and that ache into purpose. Have you ever noticed that there's a particular pain that never completely leaves you? A silent wound that follows you through every chapter of your life. The faces change, the situations evolve, but the theme, it's always the same. It's as if life keeps placing you before the same lesson, dressed in new disguises, and maybe for a long time you've asked yourself, why does this always happen to me? But the answer lies deeper than fate or coincidence. Jung called it the sacred wound, a pain that isn't just a burden, but a portal, a doorway to self-knowledge, healing, and destiny. The sacred wound is different from ordinary suffering. It's not punishment. It's not bad luck. It's a symbol, a divine imprint, a reminder of the purpose you were born to fulfill. While most people spend their lives running from pain, the chosen are called to face it, to descend into it, to understand it completely. because hidden within that very pain lies the key to your mission. Your sacred wound is the point where the divine meets the human. It's the place where suffering turns into wisdom. And the more you try to ignore it, the louder it becomes, not to punish you, but to free you. Maybe your wound is abandonment. You attract people who leave, situations that make you feel unseen, realities that whisper you don't matter enough. But what if, instead of running from that pain, you saw it as a spiritual initiation? Because only the one who has truly known abandonment can understand what it means to offer genuine presence. Only the one who has felt unseen can recognize the power of being there for another. Your wound is also your gift. And if your wound is betrayal, perhaps you've tasted the bitterness of trust. Broken, but once healed, that same pain turns you into a guardian of truth. You begin to see hidden motives, to protect what's pure, to teach others the meaning of integrity. Betrayal taught you discernment. If your wound is lack of love, it's because you were chosen to teach unconditional love. If your wound is fear, it's because you were born to embody courage. Your sacred wound shapes the kind of healing you came here to bring to the world, and it repeats itself over and over until you finally understand its message. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. Every person who hurt you was a mirror reflecting what still needed integration within yourself. Every rejection, every loss, every failure was a lesson in disguise. And when you start to view your pain through that lens, suffering loses its power to destroy you. It transforms instead into purpose. That's what most people never realize. The chosen ones are not perfect. They're simply those who decide to transform their pain into a path. And that choice demands an inner strength few possess. While others seek numbness, you seek meaning. While others run from the dark, you walk straight into it because you know that within that darkness lies the seed of your awakening. While most people run from discomfort, you face it as a teacher. And that's why life trusts you with intense experiences. It knows you won't waste them. There's a secret truth few ever realize. The deeper the wound, the greater the capacity to heal. Every tear you've shed, every heartbreak you've endured, has made you more human, more compassionate, more capable of holding another's pain without breaking under it. That's why the common ideas of self-care, isolating yourself, putting up walls, avoiding the weight of others, never truly work for you. Your soul refuses to flee from what it came here to transform. Somewhere deep within, you've always known you were born to hold what the world cannot bear, and that, in itself, is one of the marks of the chosen soul. While many try to escape pain, you move toward it with reverence, as if standing before something sacred. But this is where your training deepens. You must learn how to transmute pain without drowning in it. It's not about absorbing the suffering of the world. It's about letting it move through you and come out purified. You are not here to carry the planet's weight. You are here to transform dense emotion into higher awareness. You are a bridge between heaven and earth. During times of global crisis, wars, pandemics, injustice, you may have felt the collective pain in your own body, fear, anxiety, sorrow, as if it were all running through your veins. But this isn't weakness, it's spiritual sensitivity. You're helping to process what the collective unconscious cannot yet process on its own. Carl Jung once said that those who touch the depths of the unconscious must learn to be strong enough not to dissolve within it. That's exactly what you're doing. Now, learning to feel deeply without losing yourself, developing the rare ability to hold pain without becoming it, to look into the darkness and still remain light. And when you understand this, the guilt disappears. You stop feeling wrong for feeling too much. You stop blaming yourself for not being able to turn it off. You start to see that this sensitivity is not a flaw. It's training. It's a sacred initiation into becoming a guardian of consciousness. The pain doesn't go away, but now it has meaning. Each scar becomes a sacred inscription on your soul, a reminder not only that you survived, but that you were reborn. So the next time pain returns, don't run. Face it, breathe into it, and tell yourself, this wound is my portal. From it, my mission is born. Write that in the comments. Let it be your affirmation. If this message speaks to you, if you feel that you're living through your own sacred wound, then know this. Here, you're not just learning how to survive pain. You're learning how to transform it into wisdom and inner power, because your suffering was never random. It was architected to awaken you. Now let's go even deeper. Have you ever felt that your pain wasn't just personal, that it somehow belonged to something greater, stretching through time, through generations, through families and forgotten stories? That's when you begin to touch the collective dimension of your sacred wound. What feels like a personal burden is, in truth, a bridge between the wounded healer and the collective unconscious. Jung observed that through our most intimate experiences of suffering, we access the universal patterns of pain that live within all of humanity. Each tear, each betrayal, each moment of abandonment becomes a code, a key revealing how pain operates within the soul. Your individual wound becomes a doorway, one that allows you to understand and heal not only yourself, but all who share similar struggles. When the sacred wound is understood, it transforms suffering into awareness, and awareness into action. And here's another profound paradox. The areas where you feel most broken are the very places where you are most sensitive, and therefore most spiritually attuned. Your sensitivity is not fragility. It's a refined form of spiritual perception. It shatters the barriers that prevent most people from hearing divine guidance. Every crack in your emotional armor becomes a window through which higher wisdom can enter. And the more you learn to observe, feel, and embrace that vulnerability, the more powerful it becomes. The same pain that could have paralyzed you becomes the energy that heals others. This process unfolds in stages, deep, alchemical phases of transformation. At first, there is avoidance. You try to escape the pain, distract yourself, or numb it. You tell yourself it's too much. You chase comfort, hoping it will make the ache stop. Then comes the struggle to fix it. You seek therapies, advice, spiritual techniques, anything that promises relief, but nothing seems to fully heal it because the sacred wound was never meant to be erased. Eventually, you reach acceptance, the turning point. You stop fighting the wound. You realize it's not your enemy, but your teacher. You begin to understand that it's been guiding you all along, leading you closer to your purpose. And finally, you enter the alchemical phase of transformation, where you learn to turn pain into wisdom, suffering into strength. At this stage, your wound becomes your medicine. You use it not only to evolve yourself, but to help others find their own path through the darkness. You become a healer, not by pretending to be whole, but by showing others how to live fully, even while healing. The sacred wound also connects you to your spiritual and ancestral lineage. It often isn't just yours. It carries echoes of generational pain, patterns passed down through families, through collective memories, through the very fabric of the human psyche. By healing it within yourself, you initiate healing across time. You break cycles that have repeated for decades, maybe centuries. Every step you take toward integration sends ripples through the past and the future. You become an active link in the evolution of consciousness. And at its core, the sacred wound is about one thing: love. Love for yourself, even for the parts that feel broken. Love for others, even those who hurt you. Love for the world, even when it seems unworthy of it, because the wound was never there to destroy you. It was there to open you, to teach you how to love with divine clarity, to remind you that compassion is born not from perfection, but from the courage to face your own darkness and still choose the light. The suffering that feels unbearable is not a sign of weakness. True healing doesn't come from eliminating pain, but from bringing love and presence to the places where it was absent, from compassion that integrates what was wounded. It is in embracing your vulnerability that you discover your deepest strength, the one that connects your spirit to the human experience in a genuine, conscious way. Even as you develop extraordinary abilities to heal, help, and guide others, your transformation always begins within yourself. The sacred wound, once fully recognized and integrated, marks the beginning of your true mission in this world. When you learn to turn your pain into a tool for healing, you unlock the highest potential of your life. You become someone capable of inspiring, guiding, and transforming, not through power or authority, but through the living example of resilience, compassion, and clarity. This is what Jung might call the synthesis of the wounded self with the divine self. At that moment, everything changes. You realize that your life until now was never random. Every tear shed, every moment of helplessness, every challenge, every loss was carefully orchestrated to shape the person you were meant to become. And now, finally, you are ready for your greatest mission, to transform pain into light, suffering into teaching, and wounds into living strength. If you have begun to recognize your sacred wound and want to transmute it into power and purpose, write in the comments, "I accept my wound and transform it into strength." Leave a like, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to Unshakable Mindset to continue exploring deep psychology, spiritual growth, and the transformation every chosen soul is capable of. Achieving. Remember, pain is not punishment. It is the path your soul chose to guide you to greatness. Accept it, transform it, and allow it to reveal the extraordinary mission that only you can fulfill in this world.